First round knockout. Deiveson Figueiredo is going to be the first person to finish Chito Vera. Russia's right. This should not be going on. I guess it's almost like satanic. Might be only one person that can save that flyweight division again. Triple C, it's Henry Cejudo. He will earn his title shot. Paulo is still in the hunt for that world title. To fire someone who's 7-0, I assume Dana White's sending a message.
First of all, coach, how are you?
Очень хорошо, отлично.
Oh, your Russian is very good.
Здравствуйте. Спасибо, мой друг.
Right now, I just want to talk about Deiveson Figueiredo and his conditions. What can you say about it?
Deiveson Figueiredo is better than I've ever seen him. You're talking about a guy who's been fighter of the year before, the Lord of the Flies, former flyweight UFC champion, on a 2-fight winning streak, just beat a former UFC champ who has wins against the Dominic Cruz, the GOAT of the bantamweight division. We're looking to make a huge statement here and hopefully get a title shot because Chito Vera is one tough fighter. You know, he has a win against the current world champion. He's a pioneer for Ecuador. He's one of the toughest guys. He's never been knocked down, never been finished. So we have a big task ahead of us, but we're going to go out there and get that finish. And, you know, he wants that title shot. He wants to be a champ.
Your prediction about his fight?
First round knockout. Deiveson Figueiredo is going to be the first person to finish Chito Vera. And when he does that, he will earn his title shot.
Coach, I want to speak about the last fight of Paulo Costa, about his condition. What went wrong, in your opinion?
Paulo, I don't think too much went wrong. I think it was more Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland is a tough person to prepare for. It's hard to deal with that style, that pressure. I think it was more of that. You know, Paulo was training for that fight. You know, it was the first time Paulo had 2 fights in this. You know, within 6-7 months of each other, we did 3 camps. He did one for Hamzat, then Whitaker, and then Sean Strickland. You know, Sean Strickland's tough. Sean Strickland's former UFC champ. You know, that's kind of Paulo's fought a lot of UFC champs. You know, he's fought Johnny Hendricks. He's fought Robert Whitaker. He's fought guys like Yoel Romero, and now Sean Strickland. So, you know, when you're at the top of the game, you know, if you have an off day or something and the other guy has a good day, it happens, you know, but Paulo is still in the hunt for that world title. I believe he'll get it.
If his fight with Hamzat Chimaev, for example, will in October, your prediction, what tactic have to make Costa to beat Hamzat?
Paulo needs to go out there and sprawl and brawl. You know, you got to train that defensive wrestling. Train wrestling, not just defense. He has to train a lot of wrestling. Hamzat brings a heavy wrestling game. He's undefeated. He's a superstar here in the UAE. I believe he's a resident of the UAE now, so he's going to have the home field advantage. Will be in enemy territory to fight him, but I think Paulo will be the person to take that 0. You know, he's undefeated, so we plan to win.
Just want to speak about actual events. In your social media, you write about Muhammad Mokaev and his situation, about his contract. What do you think about this? Because a lot of Russian fans, a lot of fans around the world don't know how it's 7-0 in a UFC, and Dana White don't continue a contract with him.
You know, I'm not exactly quite sure. I know there were these fights at the PI with Manel Cop. I know they were kind of all week fighting, but, you know, I've seen that happen a lot before. To fire someone who's 7-0.
He's not under contract anymore.
An IMMAF 2-time world champion who came in saying he's going to be with the goal of being the youngest, to beat John Jones and become the youngest world champion. I assume Dana White's sending a message, but I don't know what the message is. He's sending a message: you don't fight, or I heard that they said he didn't like his style. Probably that could be part of it. Maybe private conversation being put out in the media. Maybe they didn't like that. I'm not sure if it's Dana White exactly who didn't want him back, but looks like Dana White agreed. It's unfortunate because, Dana White said to go to the PFL, but the PFL doesn't even have a 125 weight class or 135.
PFL isn't level of Mokaev.
Well, it doesn't even have the weight classes. So he would have
only for women. Yes.
So he would. The PFL's not bad because you get to win $1 million. He's good at winning tournaments.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have his weight class, and he's not big enough to go 145 or featherweight. I think he's a little bit too small for that. Maybe 35, yes, but 145 would be a tough guy. He would have to go against that guy from Dagestan, Mole. What's his name? He's got the flying knee.
Mavlit Khaybulaev.
Yes. What's that again?
Mavlit Khaybulaev.
Mavlit Khaybulaev. He's here. I saw him. Yes. He's really strong. Ochi silny.
Yes.
His style. But, they're not the same weight. But they would have, if they were in PFL, they would be. So, even Bellator doesn't have a flyweight weight class. So, you know what? If he was my fighter, I would make sure I would try to find out what happened, and we would try to figure out how we get him back in. Sometimes when you're that dominant, Demetrius Johnson had 11 world title defenses, undefeated at the weight class, and they were going to get rid of the whole weight class. So, sometimes when you're dominant, too dominant, nobody can really go back and forth with you in a fight. There's not enough sports entertainment. There's not enough action, maybe, and part of it could have been, they were fighting all week. Him and Manel Kape fighting at the PA, fighting at the weigh-ins, fighting here, fighting there, and then the first round they didn't fight. And I've seen that before with Francis Ngannou and Derek Lewis, where they didn't fight. But heavyweights get a little bit more leeway than the flyweights. The heavyweights, they'll never get rid of the heavyweight weight class, but they've already almost got rid of the flyweight weight class until Henry Cejudo came back and saved the flyweight weight class. Yeah. He saved the division when TJ Dillashaw tried to come down and kind of win the title, and then they were going to get rid of the division. So Henry Cejudo did save that flyweight division, and you know what? There might be only one person that can save that flyweight division again, and it's Triple C. It's Henry Cejudo, in my opinion. If anybody could come back and save the flyweight division, it would be somebody like Triple C. Bruno Bulldog Silva is doing real well, though. Bruno's got 4 Performance of the Night bonuses, yes. And that's the kind of stuff that Dana likes. He wants to see those finishes. He wants to see people go to war, and he wants to see finishes. That is the narrative he has in Dana White Contenders. And ever since UFC 300, when Max Holloway pointed to the ground and said, "Let's go," that's kind of what the crowd expects now, at least in America. And the other thing I didn't like is, these guys are fighting at 4 or 5 in the morning. It's like you got to take that into consideration on why there were so many decisions, because I know what that's like. Paulo Costa fought Israel at 6:30 in the morning.
In Australia?
No, here in Abu Dhabi. In Abu Dhabi, and he didn't sleep for 2 days before the fight.
I understand it.
Acclimatization. So, it's not easy to fight at that time, and it was tough. I think that was probably a little bit of the reason why there were so many decisions, maybe, in that weight class or in that event, UFC 304 in England. You know what? I think it should have been at a regular time. I've come to Europe and Abu Dhabi enough times to be like, man, I got to wake up at 5 in the morning to watch this fight. You got to be really hardcore as a fan to wake up that early. And if the UFC's happening in the country, it should be at that time, in my opinion. Yes. Let the Americans wake up early. Let the Americans read subtitles. Americans can do it too. We're too spoiled. We'll never watch a movie with subtitles. Well, why not? The rest of the world does. So let the Americans wake up at 5 in the morning also and watch, but let the fighters compete at a normal fight time. I would like that, but
When I was in Australia in 2023, Islam Makhachev fight against Volkanovski, their first fight was in 7 a.m. It's crazy.
yeah, and you know what? When do you go to sleep? You don't know. Do you wake up at midnight so you're up all night? Because that's what we wanted to do when Paulo was fighting Israel, but they said no, you should wake up at 4. So we tried to go to sleep at 6 p.m., which is very hard.
Yes.
So it's hit or miss. You kind of have to. We have experience now in it, but it's not easy.
Last question for me. You speak about Henry Cejudo, and I remember that next week we'll start wrestling part in an Olympic game. And a lot of Russian wrestling cannot take part in an Olympic game because of International Olympic Committee banned a lot of Russian wrestling. What do you think about this? And do you agree with the statement that wrestling Olympic Games without Russian wrestling, it's not an Olympic game?
Yes and no, because so many other countries have so many other wrestlers from Russia.
Yes.
So you have the Bahrain champion
Yes.
from
Ahmed Tajudinov.
Dagestan.
From Belarus, from Hungary, and a lot of countries.
Yeah, a lot of countries have wrestlers from Russia or in particular Dagestan. So I wouldn't say it's not the Olympic Games. I can tell you whoever wins that Olympic gold medal is not thinking they're a silver medalist because Russia didn't show up. You know, it's unfortunate, but you know, these Olympic Games are already, those Olympic ceremonies just made it weird. I wouldn't have been surprised if Russia would protested and maybe not wrestle. I mean, like those opening ceremonies were it was a disgrace to athletes, to the best athletes in the world, in my opinion. And I agree what Islam was saying. I don't think that should be going on during our Olympic Games. This is for athletes. These are for sportsmen. This is not for
Show or something.
and to. It's not religious either. Yet they're making a mockery of a religious, the most famous picture in probably, I guess, Christian history.
Yeah.
But what they had, well, I saw the Russian Olympics in 2060 or something like that. How they made fun of it. They're right. Russia's right. I agree. As it shouldn't. This should not be going on at the Olympics. And my question is, how do we fix it before the end of the ceremonies and not punish the athletes? There could be an athlete that says, I won't wrestle in these games because of it. An American did not go to the opening ceremonies because of this.
Yeah.
And his name is Aaron Brooks, the guy who beat David Taylor. From what I understand, he didn't go to opening ceremonies protesting how they're, I guess it's almost like satanic. And he's right. So, you know, I would hope that it's so hard because you want to boycott in some way, but you also don't want to ruin you trained your whole life for this one moment, and they're kind of ruining the moment for you, and you can't let them ruin it for you. So, do you boycott the closing ceremonies? I could see something like that happening for a few countries and not do that closing ceremonies walk in protest. I could see maybe somebody doing something on the Olympic podium when they win. Maybe there could be some sort of protest there where maybe they take their medal off and put it on the mat, like in 2008 when the Swedish guy for the second Olympics in a row was ripped off. So, you know, there's ways that Olympic athletes can protest, and I'm curious to see what's going to happen. I'm going to the Olympics right after Figueiredo right after his fight, gets the victory. It's one more fight. It's one more finish, one more victory, one more for the record books. and one more title shot for the God of War. And after that, I'm gonna go to Paris. I'll meet up with Henry Cejudo, and hopefully, I'm gonna get to speak to him, and the Olympic spirit is gonna what is the word? I've been in Brazil so long. Revive Henry Cejudo, Triple C, and I'd like for him to go back down to flyweight and save the division again. Pantoja's doing great. Don't get me wrong. I love Pantoja. Something's going on with the flyweight division, it seems, and Henry saved it before. He might have to save it again. And if there's anybody can save that flyweight division and bring a lot of hype to the division, it's Henry Cejudo. He's proven he can go up and win the title at 135. But him now winning at 135 doesn't do too much for his career. He's got Umar Nurmagomedov in that weight class. He's a killer. Sanhagen's a killer. Can he beat these guys? Henry can beat anybody in the world. He's one of the best competitors. But 135 doesn't really need Henry Cejudo right now. 125 needs a Henry Cejudo right now. If he could go down and bring and save that flyweight division once again and bring the hype, that's what I would like to see. And it would be, it would have a goal attached to it. It would have a reason. It would have a purpose on why he's going down. I think why he's going down to the flyweight again. And winning a title at 135 is more selfish, of course, for his legacy again, but he's already did it. His legacy can't be touched, but I think that flyweight weight class needs Triple C. And I would love to see him go down and get that title and really make the flyweight division one of the most exciting divisions in the UFC again.